Just for you guys to know, we do this webinars on a monthly basis. So if you can't make it this time or you can't stay the whole time, that isn't a problem. We do that like every 4 weeks to get you updated on the latest things we do and on the latest governance strategies. We suggest for companies in different sizes and different topics when it comes to governance. So you can always stay tuned. It's not always the same, but it's similar. It always focuses on the governance topic. So I would say we hit it off. Welcome, you guys. So if you just joined us, webinar is about to start in a minute. Get settled. Today we talk about governance and applications in Teams and how to handle the M365 environments of your clients or your users. I'm looking forward to this, as this is with the newest versions of our applications and a new version of Teams and so on, one of the first webinars who is tackling this topic in specific. So yeah, I would say let's go. Let's do this. So yeah, we are a company founded in 2011. We right now have over 40,000 installations, and all of them cover the topic governance when it comes to like cleaning up your tenants, using third-party applications to make it easier and make it first of all more affordable in terms of time, and second of all in terms of money to maintain an environment with little stuff. So yeah, we are around 45 people and right now do business all over the planet. So when we talk about governance made simple, we talk about how to make it easier for administrators, first of all, to do M365 governance, because we all know usually an IT department of a company is way too small to put all the efforts that are needed into like governing and maintaining your M365 environment. And this is what we like to speak about today. So how does affect Teams, how does affect M365, your cost and time structure in general, and how to make that easier. So what are the biggest challenges we see in tenants all over the world? They're usually somehow related to a term that is quite often used in a couple of years of Corona and so on, and this is uncontrolled growth. So uncontrolled growth in our experience is usually that you have too many teams, because people like create M365 groups, let it be a team or even a SharePoint site for any kind of purpose. And maybe they don't come back to it, they don't tackle or challenge the necessity of a new team, and they say, let's create a new team. That's fine, we have another one, but we will speak about this specific topic and this specific team. And this usually results in nonsensical names. So it's usually something that happens in the battle of creation and in the battle of having a lot to do and somehow needs to structure this. And this is why creating a new team is in most cases something that needs to be done very quickly. And so people create like a project team, but without a project number, or a project team without a department as a prefix, a project team where nobody knows if it's allowed to invite externals, a project team that could have been a part of another team. And after all of that, there is usually no life cycle in teams. So people start creating M365 groups, and then somehow they get inactive because they're not used anymore. Maybe it has been a project and the project with that customer is over and nobody takes care of really archiving things. So this goes at least out of the visual space of a user. So after time, a user usually has a lot of teams and maybe barely uses 50% of them. So they would, in a perfect world, we would need to like archive them, and some of them maybe need to be deleted. And this is what uncontrolled growth means. It's also something that comes with not structured teams at all. So when we talk about rolling out teams, a lot of companies, a lot of customers and partners we've worked with in the last couple of years, do have project departments, do have the necessity to give their end users a predefined structure. But that usually doesn't happen in Teams because Teams does not have real templates. Sure, you could create a team where you have your predefined channels, but that's everything. You can't create a folder structure for your users that's every time the same if they create a new project. You can't create a predefined planner, a predefined OneNote, and that usually leads to every team has a different structure. And that equals in more costs and non-happy users in most cases, at least. So these are the challenges we are tackling. So we are speaking about today, and the foundings we had, and even Gartner found this in its most recent report when it came to governance and what the company needs and requires all over the world, is that if you do not have a governance structure, it brings you to high costs and a very, very bad adoption in Microsoft Teams. So we've worked in the last couple of months with huge consultancies all over the planet in very huge projects where they try to like re-adapt, start Teams, because in the first try, it didn't work because people just used it somehow, but they didn't know how to use it in general. So they created a bunch of stuff. This resulted in a very bad structure. So, and they needed to redo the whole thing. They needed to restart everything, which pumped or skyrocketed the costs, and that's quite a bad thing. So we thought, okay, how do we do that differently? How can it be like this? So how could it cost less? And that's the answer to that is basically, and it's probably in every case we tackle in IT or production. So it's not an industry specific. It's just a simple thing. To reduce the costs, we do need to automate some things. We do need to automate how teams are getting created, how teams in general are named, how the structures of these teams are, and how guests, for example, are handled, and how long do they exist in our environments. So that's a very, very specific topic when it comes to having a clean environment that always has the necessity of a life cycle. And as Microsoft only tackles like 10% of the requirements, we thought, okay, how are we going to do this? What could be the way to restructure it to make it easier? And our result is not only applications. Our result is also something that specific bullet points you need to tackle in general. So let it be an application that helps you, or you do it manually because there is no budget for it. But we definitely can tell after these couple of years of Teams and Corona and rolling out everything in your customers or in your users tenant, you definitely need to do a couple of things to make it easier. What are these things? These things can sound quite severe in the beginning. So if I talk about restrict creation, we would probably say, yeah, but Microsoft, they told us and they're still telling us everybody needs to be able to create a team. Yes and no. So everybody needs to create a team, but everybody should be able to create a new team based on a decent manner, based on different rules you can apply in the background. So if somebody creates a team and if somebody is allowed to create everything they want, it somehow is connected to your company's governance strategy, which would probably or would basically mean in the first step to get a better overview, if you have a bloody chaos in your tenant, is to restrict the creation of M365 group. And that's a learning from the last couple of years. We can definitely say there is no excuse if you want to get a structure, even if you say, okay, after we have created a structure, we will open the creation for everybody again. This should be the first step. So stopping everybody from creating teams will give you as administrative organ time to restructure everything and make everything better, that in the end your end user is even more satisfied. Second of all, there is the possibility, even with Microsoft out of the box, to create a structure. So maybe you have already taken a look into the templates of Microsoft itself for new teams. They're pretty basic. Other than giving it a name or a very small structure, there is no option to do anything else, but it gives you and your user the idea of, okay, I need this team, but what do I need it for? And then I give my user a catalog. In small companies, usually 3 to 5 different templates. In bigger companies, maybe 5 to 10. But other than in a more complex project solution or strategy, it's usually 5 to 10 different templates. And this equals already in something that gives the user a workspace he can think in. So he can already say, okay, this is for a specific purpose, and I pick this, and if I pick this, I already have a small structure I can start with. The thing Microsoft is offering is basic, but it still will give you a better structure in the beginning. So we will come to a more elaborate solution that is easier later. But for those of you who say, no, there is no budget for anything, we need to do this with board functionality, Microsoft does offer a small solution for that. Third thing is lifecycle management. Think about how long a regular M365 group in your tenant should live. Is there department teams? And they're probably there forever. Are there project teams? They're probably not here forever, and they should, on a certain point, probably be archived because nobody needs them anymore. Or they need to be deleted because you have some company policies. They say, okay, if you close the project, you need to delete this after so and so many days, after so and so many years. So this is definitely something you need to talk about because this stuff is in the cloud. It's accessible for everybody that is part of this M365 group. And on a certain point, it shouldn't be anymore. By the way, it is also accessible for all your guests. So if you've worked in a project together in teams and the project is over and you don't archive this, guests will still have access to it. Guests will still be able to download that stuff, to talk about that stuff, and so on. So if you do not have a lifecycle management, it's not only uncontrolled growth, it's severely dangerous in to work without life cycles in general. So also for this specific request, there is a feature from Microsoft that gives you at least a life cycle for everything. You can basically say, okay, I want to have a life cycle for all my M365 group, and it works groups, and it works like this. So also here, there is a low budget solution. Naming conventions, and that's the last part of, and the last thing you should take care of is if somebody needs to create a new workspace, it should be clear for the end user, but also for the administrator, what this is for. If somebody creates a team and he names it projects, or he names it projects 53567 because there is a specific project number in your ERP or CRM, it's nobody can do something with that like in 6 months from now. Nobody will know what this was for. Specifically, when we talk about stuff like, is this a project team with externals or internals? Is this something that's just something a team member created for themselves, or is it something a lot of people are working in? It's so much easier if there is a clear name as an administrator to determine in 12 months from now, is this something I need to take a look at, or is this something people are right now working in? And specifically, what has it been built for? What was the purpose of this specific M365 group? So what are the three things we can talk about when we talk about restrict the creation? I've talked about this on the first slide. It's not about don't giving them the opportunity to create new teams. It's about to give them a different way of creating those teams. First of all, you would need to deactivate it. There is a Microsoft script for that. You can do that. So we will see that in my demo environment later. That specific button, nobody can just create everything they want anymore. You can deactivate that with Microsoft, and then you restrict it with a so-called security group. You can build a security group where you say, okay, for example, I have 5 people in my IT department that take care of M365. These people are allowed to create every M365 group. And if we talk about M365 groups, I'm not only talking about teams. I also talk about SharePoint group sites, Yammer communities, or a planner without a team. All of these things are M365 groups. And therefore, there should be a specific security group of people who are allowed to create all of them. And a third step would be having a request, asking for it. Maybe it doesn't need an approval in the end, but in the first step, you should be aware of what happens in your tenant, and therefore creating a request opportunity to say, hey, I need you to ask for it so I know what this is for. And if the process works perfectly fine and everybody knows the complete automation, if you, for example, work with Teams Manager, we do have quite a couple of customers who said, no, now everything is fine. We don't need a specific request anymore because we have underlying automation that takes care of everything. That could be the last step when it comes to this. Creating a structure would mean to create predefined templates. So as I talked about a couple of slides earlier, if you do have like project templates, which would be that's like best practice to offer that to your users, department templates, sandbox templates, where they really determine what this is for. And then also go with classifications. So with classifications, right now we mainly talk about sensitivity labels. If you do not have heard of sensitivity labels, this is definitely something we can help you with. It's a Microsoft out-of-the-box feature. It is already included in your E3 license, so you can do that. It's a little bit tricky to like set them up. So if you need help with that, we are here to do so. And then you can apply those labels to those specific teams. Which basically means you define a security standard for a specific purpose. Let me just make myself a little bit. So you can define a security standard for specific M365 groups and then roll this security standard out based on, in this team we are working with externals. In the other team we are working only internally, and in the next team it's highly security and we do secure, and we do not want anybody in this team to share data with external sources. This can be defined with sensitivity labels in Microsoft Teams and in general, M365. If you haven't taken care of this, just Google it. Sensitivity labels, Microsoft Teams. If you need help with that, just text us. We will help you with it. We can create those for you together. Last thing, but one of the most important ones, is adding metadata to the Teams creation. This is something Teams out of the box is not capable of, but it's something we've learned is very, very important for the end user and for the administrator. First of all, to know what this is for. Second of all, and that's in a lot of companies the case, who needs to pay for this? Then who needs to work in here? Does it have a project number? Does it have a end date, a start date? However, you need to somehow be able to track what teams are for, and usually the team name is not enough for that. So next slide. Last topic, lifecycle management. There should be an expiration date. You can configure expiration dates for your M365 group to check, hey, are these still valid? Do you still need your team? Can I archive this team? And then make a request for it. So if you have a decent process, you can ask for, do you still need this? Can we delete this? Can we archive this? To make it possible also for the end user to do it in a self-service. On the other hand, make it easier for the administrator to not take care of this. If that's set up correctly, you as an administrator, you don't have to take care of this because you automated it and your end user is responsible for this specific M365 group. And if he still needs it, you can say, hey, I still need this for 6 months. But if you don't, it gets archived and you don't need to take care of it anymore. If it gets deleted, even better. But to be honest, that's a little harsh, at least for most companies. There are certain cases where you could delete teams and it is a good idea, but at least in Central Europe and in the US, we know a lot of customers that are not so comfortable with deleting M365 groups. So, naming conventions. This is something that usually comes after a long time of using Teams and then finding out as an administrator, oh my God, I have no idea what this is. Now I need to write an email to the owner of the team to ask him what this was initially for. Therefore, we definitely suggest naming conventions. There are companies all over the world already using naming conventions with different strategies. The one important thing is that you use them. Use an automated tool for it. I will show you this in a couple of minutes, how that can work automatically with a very, very, very low budget. Or you do it like manually. You can have guidelines for your users. If you create your new team, do it like this. If it's a project, put P underline as a prefix. If it's a project with externals, it's P underline project name, and as a suffix, it's X or something like that. So you can do it like this to make it easier for you and the user. And this is not only something that is important for your user, this is also something that is important for your OneNote. I'm sorry, it's not important only for the M365 group. It's also important for the OneNote and, for example, tasks or planner. So because if you create a OneNote, it should have a name that explains why this OneNote exists. If it doesn't, you will look at like 100 OneNotes and they're all named the same because they're named project OneNotes. And if somebody goes into the OneNote app and sees all of its OneNotes, it's usually project notes, notes, project notes. And that's a bad thing because even the end user doesn't have the overview of this anymore in a couple of months because he can't remember why he created this, and he needs to like go into every single OneNote and search for what he was actually looking for, which is, to be honest, in general a problem with Teams. So how do we make it easier now? What are the things we can automate? What are the things we can help with? So Solutions to Share is, as I said, one of the biggest the biggest application provider when it comes to Teams. What do we automate? We do provisioning. That means we do it based on templates, so you can create the easiest templates and roll them out to your end user and say, hey, dear end user, those are the 5 types of teams you can create today. Which one should it be? And second of all, you need governance, which basically means who can create teams, how are they named? is there additional metadata to Teams? Is there a life cycle? And when it comes to security and compliance, and this is very, very important. We can help you automate that based on your sensitivity labels. So sensitivity labels are the key to a better security and compliance, and they are quite easy. If you install them at one point, you have them forever and you can use them in general. The only challenge you have is to roll them out automatically to the M365 groups you have. So what are we going to do now? I don't want to bore you anymore with any slides, any more slides. So this is why we go into Teams Manager now. Teams Manager is an application we've released 3 years ago, and it takes care of all the things we've just seen. So let me just get my demo environment in here. So here it is. I don't know if that's big enough in my screen share. I hope it should be easy to see now. Teams Manager is a Teams application. What do I mean by that? You can go into Teams App Store, you can Google, or you can Teams, Teams Manager, click on it, open it, and then it will install in 2 minutes from now. So it won't take any longer. So in my environment, it's already set up. It will lead you to an installation process, and then it will make it easy for you to maintain an environment. How do we do that? First of all, if you create M365 groups or teams with your Teams Manager will make them available for the end users and owners they belong to, which basically means they do have something like a cockpit where they see all of their teams they've created with Teams Manager or that you have managed with Teams Manager, have the opportunity to change the owners, to add members, to add guests, and so on, to have access to additional metadata. Here we are. For example, project metadata, like this, and to get specifically your favorite teams in an overview, and also ask for new teams, ask for new collaboration spaces in here. And this starts the process that we've talked about earlier. And we will do that together now. So we will create a new team. You see, if you use that application, you can do all of that other stuff too. But now we will create a new team. New team, should it be private or public? Also, this could be determined by you guys. You could decide that nobody is allowed to create public teams other than a security group. Why is that so? Because at least a lot of European customers, I have to say, don't want everybody in a huge company to be able to join every team there is. So the most created team on the planet with Microsoft M365 is always a private team. So then we provide the end user with templates, types, team types. And in our case, we will create a template. We will create a team based on a project template to get to give you an idea of how a provisioning with a naming convention and a lot of stuff inside of a team could look like. So let's go and continue. First of all, Teams Manager will ask the same questions as Teams would do, but a little bit more. First of all, let's create this. So we will name that our webinar with Flow team. And we will make a description. It's a new project. And we will also oblige to the rules Teams Manager has given us in this case, for example, that we need 2 owners for the team. That's also something that makes a good governance policy, to have at least 2 people that are not part of IT in the best case, that are responsible for an M365 workspace. So if somebody goes away in vacation or leaves the company, there is still somebody who takes care of this, and it's not the admin. So as this is a request, in my case, in this scenario, we also need a comment. So why do we need this theme? I just here put please in, but usually you should have a reason for creating a new team. And then Teams Manager will ask for metadata. And this metadata is something you can decide on. So you could say, okay, in our company, if somebody creates a new team, we should know when is this project for this new team going to start, when is it supposed to end, which department does it have, so you can customize those fields the way you like. You can have as many questions in here as you like. Most customers decide on like a couple, like 5 or 6. And maybe also, is this something we want to work with internals or externals? Does it have a country that this is happening? So it's you can make it based on your company structure. So I've made this based on a huge company. So I need to pick the department. I need to pick if this internal or external. I need to pick the country this is happening in. And then we can create our new team. So as you see here, what happens is that our team name Teams Manager will create is not webinar with flow. It is P_HR_webinar with flow, because there is an automation in the background that goes like this. Florian wants to have a new project. So it's P_. He stated that he is in the HR department. That is why this has an HR underline in there. And this is how my team name has been created. You can build different rules for that. That's the easiest one. So you have a prefix based on the purpose of the team and the origin of the team. So this is the most used suffix I know when it comes to projects. Next, Teams Manager will list all of the metadata we just entered, and also how long this team is supposed to live. In my case, this is a demo. This is why Teams Manager will only live for 1 day, and it gets deleted after 5, and the deletion is enabled. So usually it's a little bit longer. You could also have like an inactivity tracking in there. So let's say if something is 30 days inactive or 60 or 90, the team will be archived. For sure, the team owner will be notified and will be asked, hey, do you still need your team? If that is so, he can use it 3, 6, 9, or 12 months longer, and the life cycle starts again. So let's create or ask for this new team. As you see, this is a Teams application. That means it works freakishly fast. So right now, already a new request came in from Florian to Florian, in this case, as I'm admin and requester in our demo here. There is a new request as a chat message, or you can also have an email that says, hey, you have a new request waiting. Florian wants to have a new team. It will be called like this. You can open it directly on your smartphone, in your client, however, wherever. You can open Teams Manager and open this specific request to decide if you want to approve this or if you want to decline it, or you do have another comment. And as I scroll through here, you see, as an approver, I could go through all the things my user has entered, and I could edit them other than the requester's comment. That's not editable. Next step would say, okay, I'm fine with it. Just give me the overview of what will happen next. We've already seen this as an end user, but I, as an approver, can now say, here you go, and approve the new team. So now the new team will be created. This is actually something that takes a little longer. So we talk about 15 to 30 seconds. We will see an activity feed down here if the new team has been created. In my new team, there will not only be a channel structure, there will also be a planner, a OneNote with naming convention. It will be determined what my end user can and cannot do. It will have applications like additional calendar to book something in there. It is a fully functioning and structured team if it's ready to go. While we wait, in the meantime, we will jump into the settings. And I've talked about Teams Manager earlier as something that is similar to something that you can download on your phone. And that's really the case. So Teams Manager is used in companies that are 50 users strong, as well as in companies that are 250,000 users strong, because it's created like a smartphone application. So we are in the simple mode here to make it better to understand. We will stay here a bit to give you an idea of how easy this menu is actually structured. So jumping ahead to policies means taking a look into why and how are governance rules applied in Teams Manager. So first of all, I'll go a little bit to the side here. We determine a policy package. So we say, okay, if somebody in our company creates a new project, what kind of rule set do we need in that case? I decided if somebody needs a new project, my policy package is called project, and it contains a naming convention for new projects. It contains a two-owner policy so that at least two people are responsible for this. It contains an approver group, so people who need to approve this. And this is something for a little bit later in the stage of governance, where you would say, okay, we as an IT department, we have no idea why HR should use a couple of teams or should create new rooms to work together. Let the HR manager decide if they need something. So in my case, I let the project approvers decide if they need a new team. And this is determined due to a pre-created project approvers group I did before. And there is a life cycle in there. So I can say, okay, there needs to be a life cycle for projects. There is a visibility. So is it private? Is it public? There is guest access, yes and no. And this is really something Teams is not capable out of the box. If you have been in the Teams admin center, you know there is no bar, no toggle to say, okay, I have this team. Yes, we want guests in that. We have this other team. No, we do not want to have guests in this specific team. There is no button to determine this. There is just the button to say, okay, in general, we do want to have guests, or in general, we don't, but you cannot differentiate. And this is what this is for here. Force guest access, yes, no, or no force. So you could say allow guests in this specific thing. All right, what next? Next is to determine when such a policy should be executed. And to execute such a policy, we just go to execution definition and say this project policy I've just been building should be executed if somebody hits the button to create a new project. And that's what happens. So if the requester uses the template for a new project, he gets all of these rules automatically. You know what the cool thing about this is? You just need to set up once what you see here. That's just a one-time thing. You determine what should happen if somebody creates a new project. This and this and this and this should happen. All right, save that. Next time somebody hits the button to create a new project team, those are your rules. They can be even more complex if you need them. So the bigger the company, the more complex the rules. So for example, you could also say, this should be executed if somebody wants to have a new project and his department or her department is IT. Why is this possible? First of all, because it makes it easier to differentiate between different rules in general. But in most cases, this is used to determine that there are different approvers for a project. So for example, if somebody asks from human resource for a new project, a human resource manager needs to approve this. And if somebody from sales asks for a new project, a sales manager needs to approve this. This is what Teams Manager can do for you here. Last but not least, in this short little overview, let me jump into two of those rules we've talked about. Naming conventions, and I'm showing you this because I want to depict for you how easy it is really to create those. So you can basically say, okay, I need a naming convention, and I want to have it. I want to build a prefix. So I give it a name. I make a prefix and I build custom p underline. I build the next part with a metadata field, and that's department. And the next part I built with another custom underline. And it results in my specific team name we've seen earlier. That's how easy this can be. And the same is with OneNote and Planner. So you could determine the team name we've just created should be in front of the OneNote name that gets rolled out, should be in front of the Planner name. So same is with lifecycle. So if we step in here, you could determine a life cycle for new projects. In my case, maybe it's a project should be archived after 160 days, and the owner should be notified 30 days prior to archiving. But as I mentioned earlier, you could also make it based on activity. So you go here and say, okay, I want to make this based on activity. If something is inactive for 90 days, we're going to archive it. But we don't do this just without noticing somebody. Teams Manager will notice your end user and say, like he did, give me a second here, your team is about to expire. This is a regular chat message. He will get that on his phone. He will get that as email. That doesn't matter. He will definitely receive it. And then he can say, oh, Teams Manager want to archive my new team. Is that the Pöttinger project? I probably still need this. And then he can say, okay, I want to extend this new team for for this old team for 3, 6, 9, or 12 months. And if Teams Manager is going to archive this team, he will also talk to us. So he will say, hey, your team is now archived. If you do not reactivate your team or do want to reactivate your team, just click the button below. Because keeping in mind, a good governance strategy does not mean to restrict everything. It means to give the user the control to work in a well-maintained environment, which also means make it possible to reactivate things people still need. Because if you don't make that possible, they will ask the administrator to do that. They will create a ticket and say, oh, my team is gone. Could you please bring it back? I've been in vacation, and now I need to work further on that specific project. And as we all know, a vacation on Hawaii or somewhere else can also take like 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes at least. And maybe the life cycle then has already expired. To make this complete, we will take a look in a rolled out team together. So rolled out team usually means an empty team. So having just one channel, having maybe a nice name for it. But with Teams Manager, that looks a little bit different. So as you see here, it also has the naming convention we've talked about. It's P_HR. It has a channel structure. It also has private channels in here. And it has one thing that is so nice. It has predefined member permissions. Let me just move to the side so you can see those checkboxes. If you create a team with teams in general, all of these different checkboxes will be checked. And this means on this side here, all members in your team are allowed to do everything. They are allowed to delete channels. They are allowed to delete applications that are pinned here. They are allowed to delete a OneNote out of the team. All of these things are possible. And Microsoft does not allow you to predetermine those rules. Usually a regular team owner needs to take care of this. And this is why Teams Manager can do this. And so it will, let me just quickly jump back to this. It will give you the opportunity to say, okay, if somebody has a new project, the owner is allowed to do that stuff, but the members are not. And that's, at least from our experience, a good thing. So how does this structure work? So you see we have different channels in here. That's all nice. That's all fine. This is nothing new, but you also can predetermine what's inside of your team. For example, I said, okay, if we create a new team, I need a little bit more than just an empty SharePoint library. What this in this case this is here, that's a SharePoint library, and I need additional folder structure in here. I need a couple of things that are every time the same structure. So my end user creates a new project and immediately knows what to do now because the structure is the same as in the last project. Same with the planner. The planner has predefined buckets in my case. I define 4 buckets because in our company, we do have 4 stages when working with planner. I could also predefine tasks because like every customer project has its similarities and the first 10 steps are always the same. So you could predetermine that. You can predetermine how your OneNote looks like. So even the naming convention, by the way. So you can already have content in here. And to make that, to visualize this a little bit better for you is if we go into our or my demo OneNote environment. This is my OneNote application in here. I just opened it. And as you see, all of these, I make that even bigger for you, all of these things have naming conventions. And so it's easy for the end user and for the administrator to get an idea of what this is for. This one doesn't have a naming convention. And if I see this, I would never know after 3 months that this is my specific customer project from 3 months ago. I wouldn't know that. I could go for sure to the SharePoint site and check to which group this belongs to. Therefore, I would first of all need to know what a SharePoint is. I would need to know that this SharePoint site is named the same as the team behind it, and so on. So, and then if it's a bad day, you get this message from Microsoft. So it's important to use naming conventions also for OneNote and Planner. This is what I wanted to say here. For example, you could do a lot more in such a template. You could also say, okay, I need an additional info page because we work with a lot of projects and we need the metadata we've talked about also in this specific team. This takes usually a couple of seconds to load, or I need a channel calendar to work with to have my calendar meetings in here. So all of these things can be predetermined in such such a template. So to conclude this, the thing we've just taken a look at today is a small but very, very easy to maintain, or even that's because it's small, an easy to maintain governance solution for Microsoft Teams. And it is easy to install. So you just go to Teams App Store and you type in Teams Manager and you will find it here. It's probably also under topics or popular on Teams or best selling. Here are these in. So why are they best selling? By the way, all of these 4 applications are from us. So because these applications help you and your company to make it easier maintaining Microsoft Teams. And they're on top here also because Microsoft is a determined partner. So Microsoft is pushing those applications also because they're quite affordable. So a Teams Manager is really affordable to use. You can also purchase them in the App Store if you need, if you like, to make your life as an administrator or consultant way easier. If you want to do something together with us, so you say, hey, that looked fine. I want to do another demo to ask specific questions to the product. You just hit Solutions to Share, and you book yourself a demo in here for a specific product, and we will be happy to help you. So I will stop my screen share and put myself back on stage. And we do have a couple of minutes left, and I would now open for questions. I just open my chat. All right, just questions about the recording. All right, so anything else you guys want to ask? Anything I didn't show you, or anything or something that that is from interest when it comes to Microsoft Teams governance? Is there something? All right. Doesn't look like it. So I don't know if you have a vacation day tomorrow. So in Central Europe, tomorrow it's Easter, or in all of the world it's Easter, but in Central Europe that means we do have a free day. So after this presentation, probably a couple of you will go to a long weekend. Nevertheless, if you have any questions you want to ask or get in contact with us, do so. All right, Eric, thanks for your comment. Is this something that was specifically interesting for you and your company? Perfect. So try it out if you want to have a demo. Max is in here from our sales department and customer care department. He can show you that a little bit deeper. All of our applications, doesn't matter which one, will give you a 14-day trial. So you can just start it. You can try out every feature. If you have the feeling you need to work with an enterprise solution, those applications also have like a bigger version of it that makes it easier even for huge companies to get a better overview of their environment. So just feel free to contact us about that. All right, guys. I would say have a nice morning, have a nice day, have a great afternoon. We see each other next month. We will do a more decent focus on creation of teams and guests probably, but it will cover governance in general anyway. So have a nice day. It was great having you. See you next time.